presidential of ride immediately surrounding the fatal moment and described later by reporter Murphy. Thousands had massed 10 and 12 deep along the curb to see the President of the United States. The assassination happened so swiftly, and the motorcade sped off so quickly that few saw it actually taking place. A Dallas man had taken his small son to see the President. Here he tells what he saw.
Unfortunately, I was probably 15 to 20 feet away from the President when it happened.
Tell us exactly what you saw, sir.
He was coming down the street, and my 5-year-old boy and myself were by ourselves on the grass there on Palmer Street, and I asked Joe to wave to him, and Joe waved, and I waved, and the man...
That's all right, sir. You go ahead and tell it.
As he was waving back, the shot rang out, and he slumped down in the seat, and his wife reached up toward him, and as he was slumping down, and the second shot went off, and it just knocked him down from the seat.
Two shots?
Two shots.
Did you see the man who did this?
No, sir, I did not see the man who did it. All I did was look in the man's face when he was shot there and saw that expression on his face and grabbed himself and slide. And the second one, whenever it went, why, I'm positive it had hit him. I hope it didn't, but I'm positive it had hit him, and he went all the way down in the car. Then they speeded up, and I didn't know what was going on, so I just grabbed the boy and fell on him in the hopes that there wasn't a maniac around. I'm sorry. I can't help you more, but I won't forget it.
Yes.
It's a logical assumption that hatred, far left, far right, political, religious, economic, or paranoid, moved the person or persons who today committed this combined act of murder and national sabotage. There is in this country, and there has been for too long, an ominous and sickening popularity of hatred. The body of the President lying at this moment in Washington is the thundering testimonial of what hatred comes to and the revolting excesses it perpetrates. Hatred is self-generating, contagious. It feeds upon itself and explodes into violence. It is no inexplicable phenomenon that there are pockets of hatred in our country, areas and communities where the disease is permitted or encouraged or given status by those who can and do influence others. You and I have heard in recent months someone say, those Kennedys ought to be shot. A well-known national magazine recently carried an article saying Chief Justice Warren should be hanged. In its own defense, it said it was only joking, but the left has been equally bad. Tonight, it might be the hope and the resolve of all of us that we've heard the last of this kind of talk, jocular or serious, for the result is tragically the same. David?
In Washington, where everything revolves around the government, this is a company town, really, and where the president is more than any one person revolves around him, and where in many cases the grief today was personal among people who knew him and worked for him. Here are a few pictures, rather random in nature, of some of the sights around Washington today. Flags on embassies as well as on all other public buildings at half-staff. That, incidentally, is a Russian embassy. This is Lafayette Park, immediately across Pennsylvania Avenue from the White House, where as soon as the first news came out, people began to gather and stand, as they often do, just stand. The police roped off the sidewalk immediately in front of the White House. St. Matthew's Cathedral is a few blocks from the White House.
I rushed up to the chair and said, Senator Kennedy, your brother, the president, has been shot. He gave a jerk to his body tensed, but he was absolutely calm. And as I recall, Senator Kennedy, then presiding over the Senate, when he heard this awful news, said no. And that was all.
That was Robert Riddell, a member of the staff of the U.S. Senate, who took the news here to Senator Kennedy, Ted Kennedy, who is here with his sister Eunice, leaving in a helicopter for Andrews Base, where they then took a jet plane to Otis Air Force Base in Massachusetts. Now some comments from members of the Senate.
We knew him and loved him in West Virginia. I think he loved us. Mountaineers can hardly express their sadness at his going. And this afternoon, I hope in just these few rather faltering words, I can speak, at least in part, for the people of my state.
This good, this decent, this kindly man, this harassed man who had so much on his shoulders and received from some people so little in the way of support in return, this man has now gone to his reward.
There are some things that are simply incredible and leave one absolutely speechless. This is one of them.
John Fitzgerald Kennedy was 46 years old last May. He had been president since January 20th, 1961. He was born to wealth. He was devoted to the public service. The administration of John F. Kennedy began with these inaugural words.
Let the word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century, tempered by war, disciplined by a hard and bitter peace, proud of our ancient heritage, and unwilling to witness or permit the slow undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed and to which we are committed today at home and around the world. Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any...
President Kennedy. Oswald has been charged with the murder of police officer J.D. Tippit, who had gone to apprehend Oswald, but he denies killing President Kennedy, says he is being held because he was in Russia. But Dallas Police Chief J.E. Curry says interrogation of Oswald will continue, that he is a very good suspect in the death of President Kennedy. Tom Pettit, NBC News, at Dallas Police Headquarters.
Dallas Police Chief Jess Curry has recently reported that his men have found a partial fingerprint on the rifle believed used in the assassination. The weapon will be sent to Washington to ensure proper handling of the print. The city of Dallas, like the country, is still in a state of shock tonight. Texas Governor John Connally is in serious but satisfactory condition in hospital. Everyone, public officials, the police, the newspapers, have been too busy to ask the questions about loopholes in security that inevitably will be asked. As President Eisenhower said today, this is the kind of thing that freedom, compatible with democracy, makes possible. The mayor of Dallas, Earl Cabell, in a statement of the city's remorse, has said that all churches in the city will be open tonight. Dallas feels as any American city would if this had happened not here today, but there. This is Robert McNeil, NBC News, reporting.
And we have this late information. Dallas police have taken several paraffin tests on Lee Harvey Oswald, the prime suspect in the assassination of President Kennedy, including, they say, one of Oswald's cheek. They said the cheek test might prove whether he had fired the rifle recently. Results of the test were not announced immediately, and a police department spokesman said a bag of half-eaten chicken and a soft drink bottle were found near the spot from which the fatal shot was fired, but that there were no plans to pump Oswald's stomach to determine if he had eaten chicken recently. Secretary of State Dean Rusk and other high-ranking American officials were on their way to the Far East when the tragic news was radioed to them in flight. They immediately turned around, made a stop in Honolulu, and took off shortly thereafter for the return flight to Washington. They are expected momentarily at Andrews Air Force Base, so we go to Andrews Air Force Base outside Washington and NBC's Herb Kaplow.
Secretary of State Rusk leads the party down the ramp, shakes hands with the chief of protocol.